Hey everyone, my name is Poisonblade and I hope all of you are doing well out there. So for today's video, I'm going to build a fake otter habitat. I'm also going to build the first home that you will probably ever own in Skyrim because I'm building Breezehome. And I really had to restrict myself from not turning this build into Turnipzilla. So with that being said, let's get straight into today's video. So before I start with the usual ramble, I want to thank all of you guys for the kind comments you left in the last video with the update on Cat al-Bashar. I really quickly also want to say that I'm doing well. I just think that when it comes to like insecurities and such, it's better to occasionally talk about it instead of bottling it up and then eventually exploding. So I'm doing fine, but I still want to thank all of you guys for the kind comments. But now I should get back to the actual build for today because, yeah, Breezehome, it looks pretty in Skyrim, it looks pretty in Plan Zoo, but yeah, while I was building it, it started out like, oh, this looks great, and then it's like, why is this here? Why is this not there? Why? What? Although my greatest accomplishment for this build was actually how quickly I discovered the pieces to make the roof. Because Breezehome and I think all of the homes in Whiterun have this sort of dragon scale pattern to their roofs. And I, of course, wanted to have that because it's kind of the iconic thing, because Breezehome is like 80% roof. I really quickly thought of like, oh wait, those Indian wall trims or roof trims have that sort of dragon scale pattern if you layer them correct. And then I quickly just built a roof. Most of the time it takes some time to find the right pieces, but for today it really went really fast. Also, yeah, I want to come clean. Skyrim is one of those games where, like, I've finished the main quest. I've killed Alduin once. Out of like all of the playthroughs that I did, I've killed Alduin once. And I've never bothered with any of the expansions. I do have all of them, but I just do all the side quests first. And then I lose interest in the game, leave it down. It's kind of like The Sims. It's like, I play it for a long time, or for really hard for a short time actually, and then don't bother with it for a long time. See, like, I used to be a Sims player, but now I don't, because, I mean, Sims 4 is boring as hell. I really am thinking of just reinstalling Sims 3 or Sims 2. But then I usually play Planet Zoo right now, so yeah, the current state of Sims 4, or just Sims in general. Kind of happy that I went away from that game. But anyway, going back into the build, so as I said, the building was great at the beginning, and then it was just like, why is this here and why is this not there? And the second thing of why is this not there includes the windows, because the guys who live here don't have windows. Well, they do, they have 4 windows, probably on each side, but then 2 of those windows in the wooden bits are basically arrow slits because they're that tiny. And then there's an inaccuracy because while this building does look like a Norse building, Skyrim is supposed to be like Norse inspired. Yeah, the inaccuracy is that there is glass windows, which is a thing that you see in a lot of fantasy things, but is kind of inaccurate unless you're talking about like maybe 18th, 19th century, because a lot of people, well, let's just put it this way, you had to be hell of wealthy to afford glass windows in the Norse period. Think of the windows that are from that period. It's usually like the stained glass in churches, or it's like those windows with like the metal framing, because windows weren't built in like large sheets, they were built in those really small pieces because it was really difficult to make windows. To give a house like this, Breezehome is in the Plains district, so it's not supposed to be a wealthy house. So the people who are living here aren't supposed to be wealthy, which might say something about you as a player, that you're given this one first, but they wouldn't be able to afford glass windows. But this building does have them, because a lot of fancy buildings, you know, give even the lowest peasant glass windows. And there's actually, this is from Wikipedia, so I don't know if this is for sure, but Wikipedia actually says that some nobles would even just take their windows down if they weren't in that specific house, because again, it was really expensive. And then this building doesn't have that many windows. As I said, it has 4 on each side, 2 of which are arrow slits, or at least the windows on the wooden part are kind of like arrow slits. So yeah, I took pity on the people who are living here because I gave them windows. I gave them a lot of windows actually, because natural light was your main source of light back in those times. Because yes, there were candles, but again, they were expensive. Like the wax candles were supposed to be quite expensive, and then the lower classes would usually have sort of candles made out of whatever they could use as light sources. So you would have like animal fat or something, and yes, your house would then smell of animal fat, which wasn't the greatest thing. And then there were like, I've stumbled across a video once where someone made brushes, which is somewhat like reed, and then it was dipped in animal fat. Again, animal fat is something for the poor people back then. Wax was, or beeswax was really expensive. And those, well, most of these candles for the poor people, or you know, the ones down on the economical ladder, they didn't really last that long. So yeah, a lot of work had to be done in daytime, so it makes sense to have more windows in a building. Although it also makes sense to not have that many windows, so it's kind of like a contradiction in itself, because Skyrim is supposed to play on like Norse culture or Norse mythology and such. Although dragons don't really show up that much in Norse mythology from what I know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I've read, there's not that many dragons. I mean, you can say that Jormungandr, the like world serpent, is a dragon, but it's also just a serpent. Doesn't have any legs, I think. So it's more like a snake. But yeah, just think of Scandinavian winters. It makes sense to not have that many windows because, you know, without glass, you would have like shutters and some like maybe animal skins to, you know, block up windows so that there wouldn't be that much loss of warmth. But then there's another thing. Also, I quickly want to point out, this is a feature in the building in Skyrim, where there's this notch in the roof. It's right above the fire pit in the house, although I don't know for sure if it was supposed to be a hole to let the smoke from the fire pit out, but I made it that way, and I'm really happy that I could put it in this build, even though it looks different than in Skyrim, because in Skyrim it's a little bit more rounded. Here it's really squarish, but I have put it in there. That as soon as I said that, I just realized YouTube is going to have a fun day with that sentence. But anyway, so yeah, I did also put the, well, arrow slit windows, because it's supposed to be Breezehome, even though I don't really understand these windows. But yeah, as I said, there is a reasoning for maybe having not that many windows, because every window is basically just a hole to the outside. But then if you quickly looked at a certain point, with the stony bits on one side, the stone is not covering the entire thing. This is accurate because that's how it is in game as well, or in Skyrim. And then, yeah, Scandinavian winters. Having an exposed bit to the wall where probably only that wood is what's keeping it from being a complete hole. Yeah, now I understand why in reality you would probably also not want to live here, because that would need to be patched up. If you go to any of like the northern northern areas in Skyrim, you will find a lot of like campsites of people frozen to death. So freezing to death is still a thing in Skyrim. It's not so magical thing, even though you can conjure fire. But anyway, so I've moved on from the home, or should move on from the home, because here's the part where I had to restrict myself from not turning this into Turnipzilla, because that was the first idea that I had. Well, the first idea was Pumpkinzilla, but then I discovered that pumpkins are not native to Europe. They're also not native to the northern parts of North America, which is where I can draw some inspiration from, because the Norsemen discovered America first. Not that Columbus guy who then went on to massacre the Central Americas. I'm always still surprised that there's like Columbus Day, when that guy was kind of a huge asshole. So pumpkins are native to the northern parts of North America. They are native to the southern parts of North America, with like Mexico and such. And so, yes, I could stretch Valhalla to include pumpkins, but I mean, turnips also, like, if you look at people carving turnips, or turnips who are carved into jack-o'-lanterns, they are scary as hell. Because they turn like brown and they kind of start to look like a shrunken head. Although the turnips that I made for Valhalla are really derpy. The others that I make later on are also kind of derpy. Although I do start with the iconic otter with like the baby on its belly because... or baby on her belly because... yeah, I wanted cute otters. Even though they are derpy in a cute way. But when it comes to turnips, I want to talk about this a bit longer. But yeah, I just looked up like, oh, what other root vegetables did they use? Because I knew, oh, they're using root vegetables. And then Wikipedia just said, oh, they pretty much used all of the root vegetables. And then I just got the image of someone painstakingly carving a carrot. Then I also got the image of a carrot snapping in my head, and then I got really uncomfortable and crossed my legs because that image, not the greatest for someone like me, and yeah, just think of it. Snapping a carrot in half. I think I now made 60% of my audience uncomfortable. But yeah, it's the same with like a cucumber. Don't like the visual of something that shape snapping in half. Anyway, I should get onto the otters. So the reason why I built a otter habitat is because, well, I think any Dutch person now can say this as well or clarify this, or that's not the right word, but I've lost the right word because I'm a squirrel, but it's really grey right now in the Netherlands, or at least where I live, and it's also like 80% of the time it rains. So whenever that happens, I kind of become moody, and this time I kind of went into the black hole of cute animals on YouTube. So I started at cats, then I went to dogs, then I discovered a random pig for some reason, then it went on to foxes, a horse also. There's some random animals in here, but horse, back onto foxes, I think. Then it went into chinchillas. Then it went on to ferrets, and then I came along otters. I want to say oxes. I mean, I would be the person to find an ox cute. But yeah, since I'm building whatever is on my mind, you can probably think that, or can say that the next build is going to be a fox because I've returned to foxes because I discovered a Arctic fox on YouTube, and now I want to build a habitat for them because I'm a sucker for cute animals. And I do know that someone created a lot of animals that aren't in game and put them on the workshop, but I wanted to build them myself because I'm a squirrel. I want to do those things myself usually. And also the ones that creator built are kind of square-ish, and this is in no way shaming them. But I wanted a round one because I just couldn't get the image of the cute otters that I saw on YouTube off my head. They are rounded, so I wanted to just think of like the cute otters that I saw on YouTube. Again, next build is probably going to be foxes because I build whatever is on my mind at that point. Anyway, so right now I'm also building a longhouse, but it's supposed to be a fisherman's cottage, but then it turned into a longhouse because anytime I build something it becomes 10 times larger than it originally was meant to be. And here I really wanted more shops, because this is supposed to be a fisherman's house. Again, it's too large for that. This is a very well-to-do fisherman, maybe ferries people across the lake, because this is right alongside the lake. So maybe he also ferries people over the lake, so that's maybe where he gets a lot of money from. Yeah, I really just wanted like a sushi place to put in here. Like we had a sushi place in Planet Coaster. It came along a lot later than the original release. Yeah, I would then also, if we gotten all the shops that were in the, what was it, Walt's Adventures? No. Anyway, there was an expansion in, or DLC for Planet Coaster, which included a lot of shops. but then I would also have a lot of shops to put in Kayan al-Bashar, because we had a lot of shops that were just worldwide things, like a Chinese noodle shop, I think, and then for Japanese we had sushi, because of course, the only thing that's Japanese is sushi, it seems, but I mean, I am a fiend for sushi though. Now I just really want sushi. I shouldn't talk about food, like Planet Zoo and food are usually the two things on my mind, and it's just like a struggle between the two. Yeah, now I just want sushi. And for some reason now I also want pudding. Why do I want desserts and sweet things? So I should stop talking about food. I'm only going to make myself hungry. But anyway, so yeah. Again, you can expect a fox habitat next. I should finish that asylum. And I really got the idea of like turning the asylum into a high school, because really, what's scarier than high school? I am 99% sure that anyone who liked high school is a psychopath, because nobody likes high school. And that's probably just the scariest thing, to just return to high school. Like, return to your high school days. Now I'm giving everybody nightmares. And yes, I was that kind of kid who, well, this is just real, but I would, during lunch break, I would hide in the art class and just work on assignments there, because, well, put 300, maybe 400 teenagers in one room, the size of maybe a small football field, maybe more tennis field, or, well, 2 tennis fields. And then just let it go wild, because it usually comes down to you will try to talk louder than the person next to you, and then the person next to you will talk louder, and then it just becomes a screaming match. And I didn't like that, so I just hid in the art class, because I would always have an assignment for art, or otherwise I would ask my teacher for an assignment so that I could go there. And at the end, I mean, I wasn't, well, this comes as no surprise, but I wasn't like a wild kid, so the teachers kind of trusted me. Also, just a quick tip for getting through high school. I kind of was probably a teacher's pet, maybe. Not really though, because I knew for, especially history class, I would do all the assignments at the first half of the year, or like first quarter of the year, and go a little bit beyond that. And then whenever the teacher tried to check my homework, he would see that I had done it, and then for the next half of the year, he wouldn't check on me, and then I wouldn't really do my homework anymore. I mean, I would do it, because we needed it at the end of the year to show it, but I wouldn't do it as well as I did before. But no, the teacher just wouldn't check on me. I think I did this with a lot of classes, actually, where just the overall quality of homework just went down. Yeah, I think I also did this with maths. I was a kid. I was a teenager, alright? Anyway, that's it for today's video. I don't know why I started talking about high school, but there it is, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. There's a cute thing with otters in this video, because we don't have otters in game, so one of them is with the turnips holding up a sign of "Please Frontier, put us in the game." But that's that. Hope you enjoyed today's video. If you enjoyed it, there's the like and subscribe button, of course, and there's a bell button that if it works, the apocalypse is going to happen, because it usually doesn't work, or it works too late. But anyway, I wish all of you an amazing day. Bye bye.